Hey, what is up, everybody? It's the Wolf. Welcome to the Wolf Den. Half-day trader takeaways. Tomorrow's 4th of July, Independence Day. We're all celebrating our financial independence with the market shift today. So, welcome, and let's just jump right into executions. Now, I only had 2 plays today. We had a holiday, so we played OSS and we played that KPTI squeeze mid-holiday day. So over to OSS. Now let's take a look. We got some news coming out. They signed a $60 million deal with, I didn't really get into the news, but I believe this trade started in the filing. So let's hop over to the Wolf Den financial fundamental room, baby. And it's all right here. So OSS, they have a non-affiliate public float of 8,508,675. So then from that, we pull the MVPHS. It's 15.5 million. Now they haven't used any of their IB5 restriction allowance, which is a trailing 12-month restriction. So we know that they can dump 4.83 million max. Now, if you look, this dilution after the 75 million ATM, we know that they're going to dilute 76 cents per share. We know that the warrants are at 170, 161 is the net price, which I like to look at, and then we drop the filing right here. So with that said, let's just take a look right at the Jumbotron and just get a quick 3-year glance at what we're looking at. So now we can see pretty legit. I mean, this thing was up at like $6. It's just kind of fadey. But look at the volume. Now let's zoom in, enhance. So if we look right here in this channel, we can see that the volume is like, look right here above the daily RSI. So the volume's like 25,000, 26,000. I mean, this thing's not even trading basically. And now we see a pop here on 321. We got 3.7 million, which we did also have this day in the runner's room. So we saw this one had a little pop at the open and just faded off. And then it continued to fade day after day. But back to today. So today is average volume off the 10-day is 70 times normal volume activity. Now off the 90-day average, we're looking at 40 times average. I like to compare these numbers. Now that's just me. But let's just go ahead and roll back to executions. Now, I hope everyone stayed safe today. These guys like to squeeze everybody at the bell. You can just see right here it was a push. Let's zoom in on the TOS chart. You can see that it was just a push, a little topping, and then it smacked back down. And I think they were forming a trend line from yesterday's pre-market, which we did ultimately crack under. But executions. Now, this one, we let it go in pre-market. I knew that there was dilution in play. We know who the underwriters were. We know the amount that they're allowed to pull. We know how much per share. I mean, we know how many shares they need to get off if they're trying to max this thing out. We have a lot of information, a lot of fundamental catalyst information on this stock. So I put tiny starters in at the beginning, not wanting to miss this, because the way that this thing ran on 321, which it ran off 3.7 million shares volume traded, it was just an instant fade. So I threw in some starters, and I carried these shares up. Let's go ahead and zoom in. I carried these shares up into the next consolidation, which is not a good idea, but I had fundamental conviction, which can get you in trouble, but I took an early trim. More faster than I normally would have taken this type of trim, but I had needed to protect myself carrying this starter size up. So after I got my top tick ads up here, on these top wicks, I had a 224 average. Sorry about that. So I'm working with a 224 average, and I trim off at 225. So I'm basically just trimming the position. Now I'm flat, but I'm still carrying some shares, half the shares. Now we come down. I do not take profit because of this trim. So this is throwing me off my rhythm. This right here, this initial starter is throwing the whole rhythm off of the trade. But this is just how we have to handle how we're in the trade at the current position, right? So the trade starts from the beginning and it goes to the end. You guys know that. But I'm just saying I'm off on the rhythm because of these starters down here. Okay, so we come back up, and this is an SSR play as well, and it's a little bit spready at resistance and at support. So now I'm done making excuses, and I just start leaning into strength. Now, I have a conviction, strong overhead supply conviction that these guys are just dumping. And I just start taking profit on the way down. Finally in the money at this point. This trade right here put me in the money. And now I'm just kind of setting orders out, trying to get grabbed and trying to get wicked into exhaustion. I'm watching the order flow. They had a lot of, they had propping going up on the bid. And they made it look pretty strong. Some guys in the room, we're nervous about a possible squeeze. I was as well. This thing could have squeezed, but there wasn't enough outside manipulation play, right? Because the manipulators have a certain amount of money that they're going to play with, but they're not going to continue. This is all speculative, but they're not going to continue to manipulate the chart unless there's an additional liquidity there for them to do this for, right? They're just not going to manipulate the chart just to do it, right? And I just don't think that there was enough players involved in this compared to what they were using, if that makes sense. Now, that's just my opinion, but I watch these charts and I watch this type of manipulation every single day, and on the weekends I'm going over these charts, and this is my thesis. Now, I start to lean into strength at VWAP, catching wicks right here. I'm leaning in early now because it's tough to get fills on this SSR. These guys are doing pretty well. I'm watching the order flow, and I'm watching the level 2 on this, putting more importance on the level 2 than normal on this play. So then I fill up to a 221.72 average, and now I'm sized in good at this point. I sized in a little bit heavier here because I feel like I lost some money here because of this early starter that I carried up, which threw my whole game off. But so I'm not adding and I'm not trimming. I'm just letting this thing work its consolidation. Right now, I know this thing is going to consolidate, and then it's either going to push up, right? It's going to expand. It's going to snap up, or it's going to snap down. And that's just based off of the liquidity from retail or from whoever else is playing this, right? These guys are just going to manipulate that liquidity. So I noticed that the 213 bid, right, we spotted some propping, and the guys that I was following and watching, they had liquidity at 223, which was taken out, 213, and 201. Now, we saw the 213 bidder pull, and then we had a snap. That gave me confirmation that this was game over. I thought we were going to get the all-day fadey parade. I took these targets were in front of the tape. I took profit at 212, 209 off of this previous technical short-term support, and then I took some profit at 204, and I still had some orders out at 201, and I took some of that off right here. The offer came down to 205, and after hours we had a 1 o'clock trading day, so right here was after hours for today, half day. And I still have 201, and I also have a 168 decision point thesis, as you can see right here, 168. Now you're probably saying, why 168? People were asking me that, and I'll show you guys. Here's the 3-year volume profile, right? So here's the volume for 3 years. This is what how this thing is depositing volume in 3 years, and look at this line. Now, eventually, this thing is either going to continue to be strong, which I don't think this stock is strong at all. So it's either going to come back and touch 168, or it's just going to go to the moon, right? That's the only two options. And I have a strong thesis that this thing will eventually come back down and retest 168 once these guys dump more of these shares. Now, I don't know exactly how much they dumped, but they're going to continue to dump more, and this thing's going to continue to fade, in my opinion. Okay, so now, KPTI, I'm going to pull this up because I have the trade notes on it. Man, I hope you guys are really getting ready for a nice holiday weekend. Let me know in the comments what you guys are going to be doing. And also let me know in the comments if you guys have any requests for these videos. Okay, so KPTI, we had some guys in the room that were shorting this during the day. Let's look at the higher time frame. Let's see, check out the yearly chart. So this thing had a big snap down, right? I don't know the institutional ownership, but it's a weak chart. It's sideways strong, and then this type of retracement from $20 down to $4 is gonna shake out any longs, unless there's some outstanding news, and I didn't see that today. So just getting back on track. We had a push midday squeeze. Now KPTI, we identified a dual prospectus. Now they had a 424 out with 75 million ATM. Jeffries is the underwriter, and they had a 300 million offering on top of that. So KPTI has $375 million out there waiting to be introduced into the market, and they're going to add to the outstanding shares. The ATM is active. They're working off of an S3 ASR, which is an automatic shelf registration, but for some reason they did a post amendment and then they re-effected it, and that was on 424, I believe. Not positive on that, but the effect is relatively new to the 424. Now when I see that, they're either trying to trick me because I'm just a novice at this, or that lets me know that these warrants are fresh. Now the 424 was from last month, and this is the first time that we're having significant volume. That gives me a high conviction that today this ATM and these warrants are fresh. Now, with that said, looking at the daily chart, right here is the nearest. Okay, we're trading at like $7 yesterday. We closed at 655, and then here is the nearest volume resistance consolidation. Right now, I always take a look at the volume down here on the bottom of the chart. Now you see we have a decent amount of volume here on the sell day, but the volume right here, right? The more volume in this consolidation, in theory, the more resistance that we will have and the more volume it will take to push through these levels. So I enter a little bit early front side. I start to get in around 853, 859, 857 right here. I have the thesis that there's overhead supply, as we just talked about, and we're getting into daily resistance. That's enough for me to get in. Now, I add a couple times. This is front side. This is a little dangerous. I'm adding it to strength here, and this thing has wheels, right? From $6.40 to $9 in like 20, 30 minutes. So this thing has got legs. It's strong. So I'm here. I'm fighting the front a little bit. Now I know that I need a hard stop on this one. I put a hard stop out. I got slippage, but I put a hard stop above this candle at like 9:15, and I don't have executions up. My bad. So let's see, actually, because I'm kind of curious now. Those are my outgoing orders. All right. Anyway, so I get a little bit underwater here. Now, my average is 872.3, and I need to trim the position. Now, I gave myself a little bit of more latitude than I'm used to, being that the hard stop that I used was 75% of my position. So I gave myself, man, I don't know why I can't get this. Sorry about that, guys. But I gave myself 25% control over the position, and I put a 75 position hard stop at 9:15. Now, I'm glad I did that. This is an exercise where I'm going to start to build on frontside strength and build on my conviction through order flow, when to trim. So as you can see, I spot and I identify massive strength coming onto the tape, and I notice that they're not letting me trim on where minimal support is at 850, 852. Now, as soon as they dump into that, and I think they're getting a little bit of this dilution off, it just springs up, right? So it's almost like they're keeping the offer up for shorts to get out, or they're keeping the bid up, but then they're just selling into the liquidity, and then they're snapping the offer right back up, if that makes sense. It was tough for me to trim right here, but I end up bringing my trim up, and I'm chasing a stop, basically. I'm chasing in the money to get out. I do end up getting out 25% of the position at 872 from an 872.3 average. So that's basically a wash stop to protect myself against this push, and then I get some slippage off 915, and this is a big hit right here. Now, I'm not looking at P&L or anything, but I do know where my averages are. I know where my sizes are, and I know my slippage, and I just know that this was poorly traded. If I'm going to add here into weakness or add support, I need to cut at the projected higher high. Instead, I added once, I got a partial fill, and I continue to keep that up, and then we wicked, and now this thing is just kind of like creeping against my thesis. That's just what I think happened. So I stopped out. Now I get back in, and I don't get back in full size. I get back in like half compared to my previous stop out. And this cut right here, it hurt. I didn't want to put more size on. I didn't, and I take another early trim, a quarter of my half, so that's a quarter. I just trimmed another quarter based off of my front side position. Now this is wrong because my front side sizing is larger than my back side sizing. This needs to be addressed and this needs to be fixed. But we end up getting a nice little sell off here. We finally are starting to see. Oh, then we get a halt. That's what it was. So as soon as this thing starts to look heavy, it halts. That's what it was. So they use easy to borrow liquidity to push it up, in my opinion. And then as soon as the thing starts to get heavy and we start to hit that daily resistance and short sellers start to get excited, they halt it. And they halt it all the way up until after hours, trading at like 135. They released saying some bullshit news, basically. But that starts to fade in the after hours, and I start to take profit. I'm taking profit. Now I'm back in the green now, even with half the size of my loss. This should be vice versa. It should be half the size on the front. I need to formulate a front size max share size, like 30% or 25% of my backside full sizing. And then we come up to VWAP. I'm kind of in tune with the order flow here, so I add more shares at VWAP. Now I'm carrying like 1/6 to 1/8 of my core 889 average down, and I add at VWAP at like 832, 835, and that brings my overall core average down to 8442. Now I take an epic 805 trim right here, half the position, and I'm looking for like 750, 760. I'm looking for down here. I want to see one more lower low, right? Could we have a double top, kind of a higher high, but really it's just kind of a sideways action. I want one more short-term lower low off of the last two lows, if that makes sense. I'm micro consolidation, and then we start to push, and I'm watching it here, and I exit the position at the VWAP entry below my average. So this is an in the money cut, basically a trailing stop coming down, and that's basically it. Also, RBZ, we were in a position yesterday. That was a runner. That was a main look. I basically just took the offer out at 399. Excuse me. After waiting patiently all day, trying to get like a 380 something fill down here. RBZ. Here's the chart. Right here was my average at like $455. So I was in a 455 average from yesterday. I took profit. I took profit a couple of times, and then I finally just exited the position right there. And that's it for today. Today was a pretty good day. We're in the green. That cut on KPTI was a little bit gnarly. I need to work on that. I need to get better every single day. We had a couple new guys join the room. Just want to give you guys a shout out and welcome to Wolf Trading. We're going to continue to look at the fundamentals, and we're going to continue to try to figure out what the true catalyst is and what type of moves, what's the meaning behind the move. We want to know why these stocks are moving, and we want to put ourselves in a position to be on the same size as the larger money players. And larger money players mean large players, institutions, banks, etc. So let's just take a quick look at the runners. We have Yuma, Y-U-M-A. Now, Y-U-M-A had a 1-for-15 reverse split, and this is a low volume push, but it's on my radar. Here's OGI. OGI is another low volume push, but it's on my radar. XSPA was in play today. OSS, they might continue to push, or we can eventually see that 168 DP line right here where I have my targets. I have my order sitting right here. I'll hold on to that for a little bit. KPTI is going to be in play. We're going to be watching this one closely, and I'm going to be looking at the books a little bit more. MLNT. Now, MLNT, I'm still in a short position. I reduced my size, but I'm a little bit upset with myself for holding this short position as long as I have. Now, they are on OS threshold, just so you guys know. And that's it right there. And that's it, guys. So happy holidays. Have a great 4th of July. And that's it, really. Be safe. Enjoy the holidays. And we'll see you guys next time. All right. Thanks a lot.